Welcome to this little corner of the universe. My name is Alex, and this is Powcastyea, the podcast where we explore tough life questions, share deep insights, heal through stories, and of course, game along the way. I see you've brought an open mind and an eager heart, so let's begin, shall we? Today, we have the guide of all things retro and horrific, fellow streamer Eli, also known as Norman Bates Jr. on Twitch. Go ahead and say hello, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, things like that.
Yes. Oh, wait. Okay. Well, hi guys. That was a fantastic introduction. But my name is Eli, and I am a horror retro streamer. But outside of Twitch, I am also an advocate for Crohn's disease and chronic illness, along with disability. I am an independent filmmaker. I'm also a podcaster myself. I'm a dog parent.
Love it.
And a big nerd. Love comic books, love video games. Obviously, that's why we're on Twitch. But some cool facts about me: I've had Crohn's disease for nearly 16 years now, which I'm 21 years old. So that's actually basically my whole life. I don't really remember life before Crohn's. I have a specific case of Crohn's disease that less than 1% of people in the world have.
Wow.
So basically I'm just like super cool. Like I'm just like I really like want to be the best. So even with having diseases, I said I got to be in that top 1%.
Yeah, I
gotta
love it.
be there. So I've been through the ringer. I've been on almost every treatment that is known to Crohn's disease, and even some that weren't even for Crohn's. Even though a lot of people do achieve something called remission, which is when the disease is dormant, I have never had remission. So I have dealt with chronic pain and inflammation for the past near 16 years. So it's definitely a journey. But because of that, it's really empowered me to want to create a safe platform for everyone, create an educational platform. I'm a complete open book. For me, there are never any questions that are off limits because education is the name of the game for me. So within my advocacy, a lot on my personal Instagram, which is Elizabeth Kadeli, Kadeli, I talk a lot about my experience with Crohn's. Today I wrote a post about bloating and how I wake up in the morning, my stomach's like flat and I'm like, ooh, I feel good. And then by the evening, you could probably ask me if I'm like 6 months pregnant or something.
Wow.
Like that. But I write a lot of vulnerable and honest things about my health there because I really believe that vulnerability is so powerful. And I struggle a lot with mental health issues. I have complex PTSD, obviously depression and anxiety. I also have a form of psychosis, which I have auditory and visual hallucinations. And I think in my darkest days growing up, my biggest issue is I thought I was the only one going through these things. I thought I was the only one with something wrong. I thought that I was the bad one. And so now as an adult, it's like if I can be as open and vulnerable and show people that they are not alone and that there are people having these experiences, even if they're scary, weird, or even gross, like they're not alone in that. And I'm willing to embarrass myself, make a fool of myself, make a joke of myself, or just like make people go, ooh, why did you share that? Just so I can make someone feel less alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And, we did talk a little bit before, we went live just to kind of like, see how things went. And you and I had talked about it was specifically strength and vulnerability. And I feel like you encapsulate all of that so beautifully with just like being on a platform so openly and just being authentically yourself. And I think it takes like a really special kind of person to do that. And
I
it's
appreciate that.
yeah, no. And I feel like you really need to hear that because there's
I do. I'm very mean to myself. Like it's
oh
my boyfriend was trying to recently I'm working I'm currently working I'm volunteer work for an app that connects chronically ill people
oh
together,
my
and I'm
gosh, I love
also
that.
yeah, it's called the Riley app. There's going to be a bunch of changes for it, but if you look up Riley app on Instagram and the App Store, it's amazing. It's like Tinder but for friendship and chronically ill people.
I love that.
And I'm working with my local town's legislative branch, working with some senators and delegates on getting paid family leave for Virginia, which is where I live. And my boyfriend was trying to compliment me on it, and I was just like, well, duh, why wouldn't I do this? Like this is my life. I'm suffering. I have Crohn's. And he's like, just take the compliment. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I definitely really do appreciate the compliment and the kind words.
Good.
And also thank you, Clay. I appreciate that.
Cool. So, I guess I just kind of wanted to ask you because I know you
Mhm,
juggle a lot of different projects, and just with the topic of self-care,
mhm,
today I think it's so important to, I guess, just acknowledge like, okay, I'm a content creator. This is how I juggle self-care along with,
mhm,
my illness. And I just kind of wanted to, just because you said you were vulnerable, just kind of like pick your brain with just how you juggle everything and how you stay as sane as you can while
mhm.
doing all of that. So, do you have any like
Yeah,
rituals or practices that maybe you'd like to share with us today, or screaming
absolutely.
to a pillow, running to the woods,
Oh,
like whatever that looks like for
I
you?
believe in the power of screaming. Let me just say that.
Oh, it's
But
so liberating.
it is just scream sometimes. What's stopping you?
Right.
But to be honest, I will be honest with the fact that I do quite frequently overwork myself. I
Mm,
do quite frequently overdo it, and that is a mistake I have made for many years now, and that I am actively trying to work on because obviously, for someone whose body holds on to so much trauma and
mm,
ugh, when I overdo it, that
yeah.
means I'm out for like a week. Like the average
Mhm.
person can bounce back a day, a few days, but for me, it's like, okay, you're out of commission, you got to take time off.
Right.
So I really hate getting to that point because it's a vicious cycle of like, you should have known better, you shouldn't have
Mhm.
overworked yourself, and now look at where you are, you can't do all these things.
Right, that self-talk.
Yeah, and negative self-talk again is something that I really try to combat. But for me, I'm someone who needs a strict routine.
Mhm.
A lot of people I feel like don't necessarily or like to be more like free form. But like for me, even with streaming, it was such an adjustment being self-employed versus being in the workforce
Mhm.
because like I was like, I'm my own boss. And like meanwhile, everyone's like, oh, you're your own boss. It's so cool. You set your hours. And I'm like, I set my hours. I decide what I have to do. Oh no, like this is not what I want. So
Yes.
for me, it's like morning routine and evening routine, two big things. I'm a big
Mm.
skincare fanatic.
Your skin looks
So
amazing, by the way. I'm just looking at your glow and I'm like, I need this skincare routine. Drop it, please.
I worked in skincare for 3 years.
That's right.
I used to work for Lush Cosmetics. I was actually a floor manager there, so I got quite high up. I also did social media for them. Also did some eco stuff for them. So I did a
Mhm.
ton there, and I really applied that throughout my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but like waking up lately, I've been trying to not go on my phone when I first wake up,
Good for you.
which is especially hard because I'm in a long distance relationship. So it starts with like the tease of me just wanting to text my boyfriend good morning.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, okay, but maybe I'll just check Instagram.
Maybe I'll
Oh,
check TikTok. And then you're like
yes,
3 hours later, you're like, I'm still in bed. I haven't
literally.
eaten.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Luckily, my dog is kind of an alarm clock because he loves to cuddle,
Aw.
but he doesn't understand personal space. So it'll be like, Mom, I want to sit on your head. And it's like, Santi, honey, I can't breathe. So please get off of me.
Right, right.
So, he'll get me going in the morning. And then, I do my skincare
Hmm.
routine. I've been working out more, which has been great
Hmm.
because fitness with chronic illness, again, a lot of inflammation, it hurts to move, but recently I started jogging. I've always been a
Oh,
big advocate for
nice.
yoga, which is great, and I also started lifting weights.
Oh my
So
gosh. Awesome.
yeah, but like the nice thing is it's like I know, okay, so it's like I got to get out of bed, and then
Hmm.
in order to wake up, I need to make sure I do my skincare routine, brush and floss my teeth. Dental care is something I really struggle with, especially within like when I'm in a depressive episode.
Hmm.
So I have to try to figure out how to make that fun. um, and then I know that I need to eat before I work out. So it's like, okay, in order to reward myself with the next step, I have to get A, B, and C done.
Right. Very
Um,
linear.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
also having my stream schedule because it's like, for instance, if I'm going live at 1 or if I'm going live at 4, it's like, okay, I have until this time to get all of this done.
Hmm.
And it keeps me going, and it's been interesting because I found the more I'm sticking to a schedule, the more free
Hmm.
time I have to do the things that I love to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I thought was the opposite. I was like, "Oh my
Right.
gosh, if I have to factor in cooking and self-care and working out and
Hmm.
everything, and like I'm never going to be able to do what I want." But it's like now
Right.
I'm able to read more. I'm able to like spend time with my friends even if it's virtually. I'm able
Hmm.
to game outside of stream, which I really struggle to play video games off stream. So
Yeah.
like it's been really rewarding, and just like really honoring my body and honoring myself and being like, I'm doing these things not to check check marks off of a checklist, but because I want to nourish and I want to love my body, and I have a very complicated relationship with self-love and with my body. But like, I need to love myself like my boyfriend loves me, like my parents love me, like my friends love me. And even though that's a band-aid solution, because at the end of the day, I need to learn to love me for me, I will still I still need that band-aid. I still need that
Right.
help.
Right.
And that's also been really liberating, and like, let me look at myself with someone else's eyes. So
Right. No, I love that you talked about schedules too, because I feel like the days where I don't have a schedule or something kind of changes, I've learned to adapt and kind of go with the flow, but I feel that I really spiral in the days that I don't really like stick to my schedule.
yeah.
And like I can kind of like flip back and forth and be like, okay, I'm 30 minutes late, for like my lunch hour, like that's
Yeah.
fine. Like let me just eat really quick and then jump
Yeah.
right back in. But it's so important to honor yourself like that. And if that's how you work, go for it. If you love to free ball it, like do that too, whatever works.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I
I
totally
totally
resonate with
agree.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about like finding what's good, and also like, I feel like I had a lot of negative connotations between schedules because
Yes.
it reminded me of school, or it reminded me of not being
Work
able to do what I
or
want to. Yeah, like just
right,
like,
right.
ugh, why would I want to schedule? But it's like, I can change my schedule. Like
Yes.
I can still have a schedule, but maybe, for instance, tomorrow is my day off. Maybe
Hmm.
instead of waking up and working immediately, I'll like veg out and play Animal Crossing in bed for a few hours. And that's
Right.
still part of the schedule. Like, that's
Right.
still doing good things. And like, unlearning the toxic behavior of like, you have to be productive all the time to be like worthy.
Like
Like,
glorifying busyness. Yeah, no. It's
especially, I feel like that's like a disease among the streamer community of like, well, I just worked 50 hours this week on doing this, this, and this. And it's like, well, good for you. We're all
yeah.
in the same boat. Like,
Right,
good for
right.
you. You worked 50 hours and I didn't, and we're performing the same. So, like,
Hmm.
if that makes you feel good, go off. But, like, let's not make overworking ourselves a good thing, or a attractive thing, or an important thing.
Right, right. And I think somebody had made a post about like how um I guess people are seeing breaks for streamers like during a stream like, oh, I'm going to take a break as like problematic. And it's like, well, no, like we need to take time to step away to remember to like, oh my gosh, I forgot to blink that entire stream. Let me go blink, or like let me
Yeah.
go eat, or let me go
Yeah.
empty my bladder. Like we're humans too. And I feel like just kind of tapping into the fact that we're all humans together in this experience, whether or not we're streaming or we're supporting our favorite
Yeah.
streamers or content creators, just taking that time to really just honor and respect each other with encouraging those breaks and encouraging
Yeah.
time to step away and really uplifting people when they do step away from streaming. It's like, oh man, my favorite streamer isn't going to be streaming. Well, they're
Yeah.
they're refilling their cup so they can come back and
Yeah.
be a leader for the community or be this
Mhm.
advocate for whatever cause they're rallying behind.
Absolutely. And that's
And
something that I had to kind of really work on in the beginning, because, like, having Crohn's disease,
mhm,
bathroom breaks are inevitable, and there's probably a lot of them. And if I'm not feeling
mhm,
well, it's even more. And so it was really the type of thing where early on it was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning my stream on and off, on and off, on and off,
mhm,
like going to my BRB screen because I just have to keep running to the bathroom. And you know, obviously when people are demonizing that behavior, they're not necessarily thinking of chronically ill or disabled people. Like, they're
right.
not trying to be ableist. They're not trying
Just
to
ignorance.
yeah, it is just ignorance. But it's like,
Yep.
for me, when I see that, it's like, oh, am I not worthy as like a streamer
Mm,
because I have to take more breaks? And there have been like other streamers who have said nasty things about me behind my back and things like that, which are always unpleasant. But it's
yeah,
like, at the end of the day, they can have their opinion, and I'm
right.
still kicking ass.
Yeah, you got to do what's best for you. If that looks like more breaks or less breaks or, altering your schedule based on like, okay, I realize I'm going to the restroom more in the evenings or in the mornings and just honoring yourself that way. And the right people, the folks in the community that are going to be
Mhm.
there for you no matter what are going to support you no matter what. And I think the trash will take itself out.
Amen. And my community is so great. They're so
I love
good
that.
at making jokes or entertaining themselves,
Oh,
or just like being really supportive. It's great when
yes.
I'm gone and someone pops into stream and is like, "Oh, like, where's the streamer? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, Eli's off doing this, or Eli needed to go grab this. And we do have a running joke about whenever I go on a break that I'm going to get my 30-minute coffee, because I'll be like, oh, I'm going to get coffee, and then I end up doing a million things. And I live with my parents, and sometimes my mom will be like, I need you to do this, and I'm like, I
I'm
am live right
streaming.
now, I cannot. But then of course I try to help. So
Yeah.
it's a fun joke that we have, and it's good to, because it is good to laugh at
Yeah.
situations,
Oh,
and
yeah.
not take yourself too seriously.
Right. Finding joy in all those things. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My next question for you, and those of you that are in the chat right now, if you have any questions at all, please go ahead and ask them. I will
Please
save them
do.
for the very end, and we'll go through and we'll have a little Q&A at the very end. But my question for you, Eli, is as someone who has and is an advocate for Crohn's disease, what is something others should know about it or your personal journey?
Yeah, I think just like the biggest thing that I can give for really any illness, any disability, is like, have a willingness to learn and have a willingness to understand.
Hmm.
Um, that's just the biggest thing. Like, it sounds weird, but there are romantic relationships I've had, there are friendships I've had where people have felt too uncomfortable to even bring up the fact that I'm chronically ill.
Mm,
And that sucks. That really does suck. So, like, really take the time to ask questions. And obviously, everyone's different.
right,
I
right.
think asking questions is the best, because, like, you can Google stuff, but Google's going to be like, here's like a basic answer. You don't really know how it affects that person in their day to day life. And if they're willing to tell you,
Hmm.
ask, really listen, and really pay attention. And I think another thing that I say quite frequently, and I really do try to like hammer into people's heads,
Hmm.
disabled and sick are not dirty words.
Right,
It's your issue if someone says, hey, I'm disabled, and you go, okay, well, they can't do this. That's your problem. You don't
right.
know what they're capable of
Yeah. And
at
like, shame on
all.
you for assuming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm disabled, and I filmed multiple movies, but I filmed
Badass.
two successful feature films that have a best-selling book attached to them. I'm a streamer who hit 1,000 followers in 6 months. I
Amazing.
have a successful podcast. Like, I mean, again, it's not me trying to like pat myself in the back too much, but it's like, I'm disabled and I do this, and maybe look at what you're doing as a non-disabled person, because I personally think I'm doing pretty great and I'm still disabled. I
Right.
remember in the workforce, my boss at the time said, I don't view you as a sick person. And it was like, no, you do need to view me as a sick person, because despite all my successes, despite my good days, I am going to have bad days, and I am
Hmm.
going to have days that I'm going to struggle, and I do need you to adapt to me. Even my streaming setup is adapted. I have like a leg rest. This chair is really helpful for lumbar
Love
and back
that.
support. I have my heating pad with me. I have a water dispenser down here. I have like a ton of different things, aromatherapy stuff, and like, you know, it is important to view people as sick and to honor their limitations, but not just be like, oh, well, this person can't do it because they're sick, or this person can't do it because they're disabled. It's like, let them tell you what they can and can't do, because
Right.
you can't put people into boxes. You
No, and
can't limit
categorize
people.
them based on like stereotypes,
Yeah.
based on like what the media says. And,
Mm-hmm.
just talking about or going back to like your topic, which is like communication is a form of loving others. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if you completely jump past asking those questions, you jump past that point and
Mm-hmm.
you jump right into your assumptions, you take away that opportunity to really just cultivate and strengthen that relationship. And it's, I don't know, I feel like it's going to be silly to say, but I feel like it's almost like hateful to just assume and be like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I think I know what's best for you and I'm going to help you with this instead
Yeah,
of
it's
being
it
like, how can I be here for you?
infantilizes people.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
it really infantilizes people. And also, at the end of the day, like, as much as, yes, I want you to respect me because I'm
Hmm.
disabled and chronically ill, there's so much more about me. Like, there's so
Hmm.
much more we can talk about. There's so much more going on. There's so much more that I'm doing. Like,
Yeah,
I am a person with these issues. Those issues are not me.
right. Exactly. Oh man, I know you talked about acting in there, and I kind of wanted to talk to you about that as well. How did you get started with acting?
So I did theater ever since I was a little kid.
Love
Theater was a bit,
that.
yeah, I started theater, I think, when I was like 7.
Hmm.
Um, and I was also really into making home movies with my friends, and I was homeschooled. For background for people, I was homeschooled all through elementary school. So we were kind of allowed to do all sorts of crazy things. And there were 5 homeschool families in my neighborhood. So we could all walk to each other's houses.
Like a network. Okay.
Yeah. So we had this camera that one of the families had, and it recorded onto tape. So tragically, all these films are lost because the tape got crushed.
No.
But like we would film these movies, and we would write them out, and we would spend the entire day making them, and we learned all these editing tricks. Like if you paused while you were recording and then moved someone somewhere else, it would look like they were teleporting. Or like we did this one story where one of the people's dogs was this wise old lady, and we wrapped a blanket around him. Yeah, and we found that if someone stood off camera and talked as her voice, and then someone was on the other side of the camera and fanned a paper plate, the dog would try to bite the air, and it would look like she was talking.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
So we would come up with all these creative ways, and I always knew that I had a heart for it. And as I got progressively sicker, I turned to writing, because writing was always something that I could do. I wrote a lot of fan fiction. My best fan fiction was a Twilight fanfic that had 75K reads on
I
Wattpad.
love that so much.
I love me some Twilight.
Same.
But I always wrote, and when I was in middle school and I went to private school, I starred in a lot of their theater plays and stuff like that. But theater's very demanding. I have a big respect for it and a big heart for it, because it takes a lot of work.
Right.
And by the time I made it to high school, theater had become so political. I started going to a public school where people were competing for awards, and there was all of this. And I went to one audition, and they gave me a really crappy role. And I turned the role down and was just kind of like, I don't really want to do this. And so I looked into film. I started taking classes. I started networking. I started doing a lot of extra work. That's honestly where it starts. And just trying to be a help on set. And actually, I booked my first web series, and it actually aired on TV and all that fancy stuff. And I've been on TV a few times, which is a cool fun fact.
That's awesome.
But at the time, I'm into tech. I used to build computers. I love the inner workings of stuff. And there's this cameraman on the set of something I was filming. And honestly, I thought I was being annoying. I was 15, and I was walking around, and I was like, what are you doing? Can you tell me everything you're doing? What is this camera?
Oh.
And he ended up, I didn't know at the time like who he was. And I ended up having this performance like a few months later, where I did this whole performance where I was this damsel in distress complaining about her job. And like the prince is always late, and don't get me started on the dragon. And I wore this ridiculous dress. And it turned out that he was writing a series at the time, and it was the same cameraman. And afterwards, he approached me. Even later, we were working on the same set of a pilot together. And he approached me and he said, I wrote this role for you. And we didn't really know each other, but he's like, I wrote this role for you. It's this girl. Her name is Angie. She's kind of like a street kid. She's this wild child. I really want you to play her. And I was shocked. I mean, again, I've always dealt with low self-worth. And so for someone to come and say, you're talented and I want you, I was like, I mean, even now I'm trying not to tear up. Like I have goosebumps, because I just remember that was such a turning point in my life. And, we shot the pilot. It's called Mount Hideaway, but we shot the pilot, which actually premiered 4 years ago today.
That's amazing.
And honestly, it was not very good. We were working with a micro budget. We didn't know what we were doing with the story. We shot it. We put it out there. No one's meaner than Amazon reviews, but it was such a great learning experience. We took the criticism, and then we turned it into a movie series. We wrote the first movie. The movie did really well. It's available basically on all streaming platforms. It's a family-friendly murder mystery.
Oh,
I
neat.
play this very spunky, very sassy girl who is an orphan. And this past fall, we finished filming the sequel. We put out our first book of a 3-part book series, which actually topped 2 of its genres on the Amazon bestseller list.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's really cool. It's a great experience. I have a great heart for that series. And I mean, I've done other stuff. The difficult thing with independent acting is you can spend months on a project for it to never come out. So
Mm.
I've made a lot of great friends. I've gotten to really hear a lot of really great people speak. I actually ended up moving out to California last year in February. To I was living in LA, living right outside of LA, and I was auditioning, and then the state went to lockdown.
Oh my
And COVID
gosh.
happened. That was me when I
Wow.
was like, I'm ready to start. I'm ready to try LA. And then
Oh,
the pandemic hit.
yes.
And
Oh.
so I kind of reeled back, and that was a time where I was really focused on self-improvement. I was living with my
Mm.
sister at the time. We were repairing our relationship. And honestly, that's how I got into streaming, because when I came home, I had nothing to do, and I wanted to keep that confidence in front of the camera. I wanted to keep those skills up.
I love
So
that.
but to kind of go back to your question,
Yeah.
basically acting classes, networking, always being kind. Like kindness helps. Like holding the door for people, offering to help. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know when you're going to touch someone, or when like you're interacting with someone who is either a big deal or has connections or who wants to work with you. And
Right.
honestly, just going into things with what I call, and I'm Catholic, so sometimes you're going to hear me use
Oh
some
yeah, no,
religious
no.
speak, but going
That's
in
all
with a
good.
servant's heart and a
Servant's
heart
heart.
willing to
Yep.
help, um, just really gets you a long ways. And my
Mm.
acting coach, Cheryl Felicia Rhodes, amazing woman, she she always used to say that like you're I forget the way that she would specifically say it, but basically you're not going to get the role if you don't go to the audition. So if you're
Right.
sitting here being like, oh, what if I don't get it, what if I don't get it,
Yes.
you're not going to if you don't go. So go
Mm-hmm.
and do it, go and try, at least
Right.
you tried. And like, just put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of great people, and if you're doing it for the right reasons, the rest will follow.
Right. The doors will open when they need to
Mm,
open. They'll open how they need to open. And I
exactly.
love too that you talked about just like not being able to like you talked about your experiences, but what I'm gathering from that is like you're not somebody to just stay down. You keep getting back up and you're like, okay, how can I learn? How can I be better? How can I use what I've experienced as a positive kind of takeaway, and then like alchemy that however, and then
Mhm.
turn it into like a new experience. And I think that that's just so amazing to me that you're able to
Thank
like
you.
do that. It's so
You're so sweet.
inspiring.
Yeah, I definitely have my really down moments where I
Mm,
can't get out of bed and where I want to give up, and moments that
right,
I've tried to give up. So like it's definitely not all sunshine and roses, and I have my moments of weakness, and
right.
where I really do need to rely on others to carry me. But I will say a really big driving force was when I was 16. um my sister's partner killed himself, and
Oh,
he was very important to me. I really looked up to
hmm.
him. I had known him since I was a child.
I'm
They
so
were kind of
sorry.
like, yeah, it was really hard. They were kind of like childhood sweethearts, basically. I mean, I won't talk too much about them because that's their information, but it really struck me. And I was a very suicidal teen, so it was a lot. And I remember just reading his obituary, and reading about how hard he chased his dreams. And he was a Navy SEAL, and he wanted to be a Navy SEAL since he was 4.
Mm,
And I remember that was such a wake up call to get out there and to do it, and to do what I love, and that I wouldn't let being sick hold me back anymore, because I realized that it wasn't my illness, it was me. I was
mhm,
the one setting these parameters that I couldn't do these things. And it was like, you know what? So help me God. I'm going to chase my dreams. I'm going to make him proud. And, I'm going to keep up his legacy through
mm,
myself. So that was definitely like probably the biggest wake up call you can get.
yeah.
And I miss him every day, and I love him, and I have to hope that he would be proud of everything that I was
Oh,
doing.
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Mm. I'm just looking at the chat really quick to make sure we're
oh yeah,
not
of
getting any
course.
questions. I know you
I
kind of
see Clay being super supportive.
I
Clay.
know he's that's Clay for you. I know you kind of talked about already like how you got started with streaming, but I guess just kind of talk about your experience with streaming. Like I know you kind of touched on how it began, but I guess what have you learned along the way? Talk about your community, maybe some experiences that you're like, that was really shitty, but this is how like I made it, worthwhile.
So I actually kind of have a lot of funny things about streaming. I never really intended to become a streamer. It was always kind of something that I wanted to do. I've
Mhm.
always dabbled in stuff. I have my YouTube videos from middle school when I used to have a gaming channel. They're privated, but those exist. So I've always tried. I've always had a passion for it. But
Mhm.
my dear friend Harrison, they started streaming, and we would just play DBD together on stream. And it's funny because they started the community.
Mhm.
Hex Gang was their idea. That was their verbiage. We made a server together, me, Harrison, and Mauve, Hex
Mhm.
best friends. And originally it was just for us and whoever else wanted to join. We had a few
Right.
friends join. And then you know, I at the time I started dating my boyfriend last February. We celebrated our 1 year recently, which was
Oh,
great.
happy anniversary.
Thank you. And he's a very motivated person. He's very private, so I'm like trying to navigate what I say because I don't want to divulge anything about him that he would blush about, but which is a lot. But he really believed in me, and you know, I kind of pandered and was like, you know, I kind of like to stream. It kind of seems fun.
Mhm.
I couldn't work because of the pandemic, and he kind of sat me down one day and he was like, you know, is this something you want to do? And I
Right.
was like, yeah. And I was like, I can't because I can't make the financial investment of streaming. And so this is, I've had some people who, and it breaks my heart, who have compared themselves to me. And it really makes me sad because I have been very privileged. So he bought me my computer.
Love that.
Yeah, he bought me my camera. He basically like brought me a streamer starter kit
Mm.
because he believed in me, and it was really hard for me to accept because once again, when you have very low self worth and someone saying, "I believe in you this much," and
Mhm.
once again, I'm like, oh, trying
Yeah.
not to tear up. But when someone says, you know, "I believe in you this much," it's like
Mhm.
I want to take this and I want to run with it.
Mhm.
And you know, I knew what kind of content I wanted to make. I knew right away. It was like, I want to stream Silent Hill. It's my favorite game. I need to share this with everyone. I need to share my love for things. I want to make friends. And my plan when Zach, my boyfriend, and I sat down, I was like, you know, I started streaming June 23rd, and I said, I plan on having 3 average viewers and to hit affiliate by August. That was my plan. You know, I was ready for no one to watch. I was absolutely prepared. And granted, I'm fortunate because with acting and also with me spending way too much time on the internet throughout my youth, I had a little bit of a following.
Right, right.
So, you know, and you know, on Twitch, having just 5 people who want to view your stuff it sets you apart already.
Mhm.
So, you know, I sat down and I started streaming on June 23rd, and I was met by so much love and appreciation and so much support from my friends. And like Cujo said, Cujo was one of the first people I met through streaming. We weren't friends right away, and I'll share how we became friends. But I had a streamer, Titans Revenge. Him and I had. Do you know the show One Tree Hill?
Yes.
So he's from Wilmington, North Carolina,
Okay.
and that's where One Tree Hill was shot. And someone from One Tree Hill was in a show that he made, and I made a financial donation because I really believed in that show, and it was a hilarious show. And once again, it's hard to get stuff picked up. And him and I stayed in contact. But sure enough, he became a Twitch partner,
Oh my gosh.
and he sent his community to mine. And even though not a lot of them stayed, the average viewers in the chat was there,
Mhm.
and that really motivated me. So I had like my core friends, I had support from people. We hit affiliate in a week,
Oh my
and I was
gosh.
shocked. Like,
Yes.
and from there, Harrison was like, you know what, I don't want to stream anymore, and basically gave me the keys to the kingdom of the community, and I was left scrambling. I had no branding plans. I mean, Norman Bates Jr., I love Psycho. That's always in my gaming
Great
tag.
film.
But yeah, I'm in love with it. But I was like, I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I didn't watch Twitch before I started streaming. There are still people will say like emotes or stuff or like post stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't speak Twitch.
Right.
And so a lot of it sent me scrambling, and a
Mhm.
lot of it gave me anxiety. I was super grateful for it, but all of a sudden the community was growing so fast, and I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't
Wow.
know what I wanted to create, but like I knew that if I led with love, And I knew that I had the right people in my corner to tell me when I was doing poorly, or to tell me when I was maybe not putting good stuff out there, as in like maybe being negative, or maybe saying mean things, cruel things, which I'm not really a cruel person, but I knew people were there to keep me in check.
Right.
So again, I grew very fast. We hit 1K in 6 months. And every moment of that was me being like, I don't know what I'm doing. It was borderline imposter syndrome, borderline I don't deserve this, because I met so many streamers, yourself included, who I look at and I go, they should have everything that I have. Like, I don't know what I did to get here. Like, these are people that I respect. These are people that I cherish. And these are people that I look up to. Like, again, you included everything you do about Patreon. Like, I look at your Patreon work and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look your YouTube, everything. I'm like, I have so much to learn. Like, these are the pros. And so yeah, it was a really interesting journey. And Dead by Daylight's always been my backbone. That's always been my viewer getter.
Right.
But I've always tried to push through with the retro gaming stuff.
I love that you do that. You give
Thank
the
you.
retro games so much love, and it's like, yes.
Thank you. I try, because the thing is like, these are dying games. These are dying stories, but they are stories that I love. And I want people to experience them. So I'm, they're expensive, they're hard, they're not accessible. So I'm going to go through the pain of getting them, and I'm going to show them in a non-condescending way, and not be like, you don't know what this is. You've never played this. You've never heard of it.
Oh yeah, and like gatekeeping and like,
yeah, absolutely not.
gross.
I'm going to be like, hey, let's look at this together. Like, my community, I mean, I met a lot of Silent Hill fans, but a lot of my Silent Hill fans didn't know my community members didn't know what Silent Hill was. And I was like, let me show you.
That's such a gift too, because like I talked about before, like you're a leader of this community, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna set the tone for this month. Like, we're gonna do Silent Hill. Like, you just finished Resident Evil, right?
We're on to the second game. Yeah, we're gonna be playing through the whole series, which is Cujo. I'm gonna punch you in the face. Sorry, Cujo always goes, "What's Silent Hill?" Or I say, "What's your least favorite game?" And he goes, "Silent Hill." But yeah, we're playing through the entire series, which is gonna be quite the journey.
Right.
And that's the thing. I'm lucky to have my community, and there are community members, and then there are real friends. And Cujo is one of them. It's funny. He was one of the original people who followed me, just completely randomly. We met in a Dead by Daylight match, and he checked me out, and then for some reason stuck around. And we weren't really friends. And one day, like, we had talked on and off, and my Discord's kind of popping. We have a lot of events. I called him ugly on stream. Just like, he came in and said something, I was like, "You're ugly." And we literally just became friends. That's how we started. It was almost like how like toddlers become friends. And like, Cujo streams with me basically every day. He's one of my best friends. We spend time outside of stream. Like, he's sending SOS messages right now, but like, and it's been great, because I've met other people. I've had other relationships that have just meant so much to me. And especially in a time where, as a high risk person, I'm not going out, I'm not doing things. Forming these relationships and having the support system is just beautiful.
Right. It's so important, for everybody. But I think, like you said, just staying at home, as you are, I think Twitch is just such a beautiful thing to be able to connect with people that you wouldn't be able to connect to anyways, because they're in a different state, a different time zone, and I love that we can just connect like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the SOS messages.
He's the best. He's the best and the worst. I did kind of put him through hell. We were kind of playing an awful game before this on stream, so he's allowed to be as mean.
He's allowed to be mean. Got it. So another question I have for you, I'm just talking about your creative projects. You juggle so many creative projects. And as someone who also does this, I'm curious, have there been any projects that you've dropped because it was more important, or more important to drop it than to continue with it? And how did you handle that? Because I feel like that's self-care as well.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing your limits and making time for yourself. Oh, yeah. Recently, that's actually been YouTube. So I have a lovely editor. Her name is Rump. That's her nickname. That's obviously not her legal name. But I love her to death. And this past month, both of us in an unspoken way were looking at our YouTube content, and something just wasn't working. And I was really studying, trying to figure out how we can make it better. We did a giveaway. we did a bunch of stuff, and recently we came together, and she was kind of like, hey, you know I need to focus on myself right now. And it was funny because she felt very bad, but I was like, you know what? I kind of just don't think YouTube's working anyway. And I feel like this is just the most natural way for us to just kind of ease up. And honestly, I have like maybe 5 more months of YouTube content to put out. So it's not like I don't have stuff to put out.
Right.
But it was like, as far as creating unique content, there's so much that I want to do with YouTube that I just can't do right now. And Let's Plays will continue to go up. But it was just the type of thing of like, I was asking for a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism, and I was hearing the same thing. And you need to make more diverse content. You need to post stuff that's not just from Twitch. And I was like, maybe I should take a day off of streaming. Maybe I should do all these things. And I have all these plans for series I want to do based off of comic books and things like that.
Right.
But now is just not the time. And admitting that was hard because it's like, I want to do it. I want to create this. I know I can create great stuff. I know I am creating great stuff.
Right, right.
But I can't do it right now. And, I really want to step back and really, because I want to, in my first year of Twitch, I want to put as much into Twitch as possible so that when I look back on it, I can be sure that this is something I want to keep doing.
Right.
But yeah, YouTube was something that I am kind of easing back on. That, and definitely TikTok is something that I just really don't pay much attention to. I know that a lot of creators love it, and especially my friend Paul, he goes by Team Ashen. He makes some of the most amazing TikToks ever. Love him to death. And he's a creator that can just do it. I tried it for like a week. Sure, I probably should have given it more time, but not for me, not something that I can do.
It's a beast. It really is.
It really is. And I've heard that like the lifespan of a trend is like 10 minutes or something ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's like
there's no way.
You like literally like it just doesn't, like it moves on to the next hot thing.
Wow.
Because that's how they are. But
wow.
Yeah, and even there have been times where I've had to take breaks from streaming. Not many. I was in the hospital in August, so that was probably my biggest break. But I didn't really have a choice with that one. You can't really stream from the hospital.
No.
But my community was so great with that. But
that.
even then, and same thing with filming a movie. My community was so understanding of like me needing to take days off or schedule changing, things like that. So even though streaming is my main focus, it has had to take a step away. And with my podcast too, I love my podcast.
You have some amazing speakers that come on.
I really do. I don't know why they agree to come on. But I'm so lucky. But like even with that, they're like I went on vacation to see my boyfriend for 2 weeks, and I tried to get 2 episodes done, and it just didn't happen. And I was like, you know what? It just didn't happen. And I'm going to take a 2-week break, and I'm not going to beat myself up over it because I can always come back to it. And coming back to stuff is daunting, and you may not have the best reception, but you can always build back up. Like, don't give up just because, you have a bad few days,
Yeah, exactly. And I know you kind of talked about it too, but just like the momentum and just fear of like, okay, if I step away, am I going to lose momentum? Like not just with like how people are, I guess, just taking that content that you're putting out there, but also with yourself. Like if I step away from like a game that I've been streaming for a week and I come back to it, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if I want to play this. And then I feel bad because I'm like, I told people we were playing this, so we're going to play it. And like, I find myself along the way, but it's a process trying to find myself along the way.
I feel that. That's kind of like me with Resident Evil because there's like 6 billion Resident Evil games.
Oh my gosh, so many.
Yeah, there's so many. Even today I was supposed to stream it and I just said, guys, I don't want to play Resident Evil today, and I'm not going to because I want to enjoy this and I want to be entertaining for you guys, and this is a hell of a long journey, so we're gonna take it piece by piece. And this game has been out for like 20 years, so I doubt anyone's like dying to see what happens.
Exactly.
So I feel that.
And just like YouTube in general, I think it's changed just so much.
Oh,
like,
gosh, well, they tell you that tags don't even work. So
tags don't. I know. It's like, then just remove it from when I'm uploading the video.
Gosh,
like, it's so overwhelming. All the different things that they have. Like, did this ever air on TV? Like, no, it didn't. And you have to like check mark like all this stuff. Like the closed captioning, great. Like we didn't have that back when like YouTube first started, but it's just changed so much.
And for me, it's hard too because like I'm a family-friendly content creator, for those of you who don't know. I do have my slip-ups. But it's hard for me because like the question of is this okay for children? I'm okay for children. So like, are you asking like me? Like, I guess this game isn't okay for children, but I don't want my
Right.
channel being marked as mature. Like, I put trigger
Right.
warnings before stuff, all of that. You know, my community's 13 and plus. I'm like a crazy parent. I go on Common Sense Media, which is a
Oh my
website
gosh,
my
I do
mom.
too. I do too.
I go on Common Sense and I'm like,
Right.
what's the rating for this? Like
Right,
people will
right.
be
How
like, can
much
you watch
sex
this
is there?
movie?
I know.
Yes, yes. I'm like, absolutely not. Or like, yes, we can do this. We recently watched The Ring. I approved The Ring because that's a horror movie with nothing too yucky in it. And
Right.
it's funny, my community members will be like, well, I watched Friday the 13th. And I'm like, I'm not about to expose you to something and you to go to tell your parents and be like, hey, I watched this thing with this adult on the internet.
Yep.
And
And
then
then you lose that person forever.
yeah. So yeah. I'm very protective of my community and age gap. But yeah, it's hard on YouTube because it's like I don't even know what box to put myself in anymore.
Right, right. And it's like, also too, just content. Like a lot of the games that you play are kind of scary. And it's like, would
Yeah.
this be considered okay for kids because there's not sex or there's not like a
Yeah.
whole lot of violence, but there is like some scary scenes
Yeah.
or some scary characters? It's like,
Or like
how do
psychological
you?
horror is very deep.
Yes.
And like I played Silent Hill when I was like 11. That's when I first got exposed to it. And it was a gift because it really helped me as a creative. And also I related, there is a character, you played Silent Hill, right?
Yes, yes.
Did you finish it?
No, my emulator
That's
stopped
okay.
working. So I have
That's
to go back.
valid. Oh, no worries. Honestly, it's a pain in the butt. But the character of Alessa, who is, you know, the suffering little girl who's been stuck suffering for 17 years and she's kind of the reason that the nightmare world exists. And this is not really a spoiler, I promise. But she's like the reason that the nightmare world exists because it's like a reflection of her childlike understanding of things and also of her pain. And for me,
Wow, that's so
when
deep.
when I was little and all I knew was pain and all I knew was anger and frustration, it was like I had found this character that was me that, you know, was finally expressive of everything I felt. And yeah, it's sad that at 11 years old, 10 years old, I was looking at a character from a cult psychological horror game going, that's me. But like it's what I needed and it's the comfort I needed. And the thing is, like, I know that there are kids who come from hard backgrounds and I know there are stories that will speak to them and I will protect them from the bad, but also like kids will exist on the internet. They will go into spaces that they shouldn't on the internet. I can't
Right.
control that, but I
It's
can control my
inevitable.
community and be honest and guide them through
Exactly.
that and talk them through feelings and be like, you know, this is what we're looking at and this is kind of how it makes me feel. How does this make you feel, you know?
I love that you can find like comfort in horror games. Like I love when you retweet, I follow you. So I'm always like, oh, Twilight posts, like that's where I get a lot of my Twilight posts.
I really love Twilight. I'm sorry.
It's so good. I'm still working through Midnight Sun, I'm slowly working through it.
Because I don't want it to end.
Yes.
Because then there's nothing.
I'm the exact same. I'm like, maybe I'll reread it, but no, I love when you retweet like these are my comfort games and it's like Silent Hill and it's like all these like scary games and I'm like, Eli's a beast. Like I couldn't call those my comfort games, but I love that you just find like beauty and like solace and like something like that. And the fact that that's available for you to do that is like good on the creators for creating somebody that somebody out there can relate to. Like that's amazing.
And horror really is a beautiful genre.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of bad horror though. And I don't just mean in a like Rotten Tomatoes review way, but like there's horror that thinks horror is all about like gore or
jump scares
stuff. Yeah, or jump scares. Like Saw is one of my favorite movies and the first Saw is actually not that gory.
Good.
And it was originally a student film that was made by two friends and you can find the student film on YouTube. Yeah, and I really suggest watching it. Lee Winnell and James Wan, who are now big names. It was their college thief. I can't say that word. I have a little bit of a lisp, but their college film.
Okay.
And the first Saw is really just about like the human condition and shitty people being shitty people and hurt people being hurt people.
Mhm.
But the issue is they murdered the franchise, and now it's all about like the traps and the gore and like how gross they
Yeah.
get. And it's like,
Right.
no, the first movie had a lot of heart and soul to it. Even the second movie, I'll say that too, but that one's a little bit but you know, like for instance with Psycho, um Psycho was a groundbreaking movie. Not only did it invent the slasher genre, and yes, I will fight anyone who disputes that, but you know, it was the first time so much was done within a movie, so many movie tropes. One, it's actually what created the modern movie going experience. Back in the day when you went to see a movie, you could go in at any time, beginning, end, middle. They didn't matter. But Psycho, you had to be there at the beginning. You could
Right.
not enter it because they wanted you to experience
Experience
the
the whole
twist.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
It was also the first one that appropriately and properly showed split personality, which we now call dissociative identity disorder, without demonizing it. It
Wow.
used real psychological terms and acknowledged it, which mental illness in the 60s was not something that was very well talked about.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Or it's like
also,
demonized like
yeah,
so much. Yeah.
absolutely. Also showed a single woman in control of her sexuality, in control of her life as an independent person. She did die, but like she's still
Up
did
until
all of
that
that.
point.
Yeah.
She was good.
And a lot of people don't know this, but Anthony Perkins was a bisexual man, and
Wow.
he played Norman, and I hesitate to say he was open
Mhm.
because he was about as open as you could be in the 60s, but he
Right.
did date men publicly. He unfortunately died of AIDS. I want to
Mm.
say in the 80s or
Okay.
something. He has two kids, Elvis, who's a musician, and Osgood, who's a director. But he was like one of the most amazing men. I look up to him so much. But like
I do too.
again, you have this movie that has female sexuality and empowerment and independence. You have a bisexual male lead. You have like mental health and groundbreaking definitions of it. And you have a genre defying film. Like there's no more perfect film. And again, that's why I'm Norman Bates Jr. Because I love everything Psycho embodies, and it's a really important film. And actually, Jamie Lee Curtis's mom is the main character in that movie.
Iconic.
And
Iconic.
then Jamie Lee Curtis went on to play Laurie Strode in one of the most iconic slasher movies, and it's just amazing how it all connects.
Yes. I love you're like totally like geeking me out here because I love movie buffs. I could talk
Mhm.
all day about
Oh
just
yeah.
movies and all these like fun facts. But yeah, I think that was one of like the first scary movies that like we actually sat down and watched.
Yeah.
And I just remembered one, I thought Norman was like a very, very attractive man. Like
Oh, he is fine, and he's charming, and he's sweet. I love
right.
him.
Oh, and just the fact that like it gets you thinking, like the end is just
Mhm.
like, holy
Yeah,
crap. Like this is just such an amazing twist and it's just such a good way of like storytelling and just character development that, you know, on
absolutely.
top of everything that you talked about, it's just
Mhm.
it's amazing
It
and
is.
it's timeless. It's timeless for that
It
reason and
really is.
so
And it's
many
actually
others.
funny. I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies as a child. I actually wasn't until my late teens.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I'm actually super late to the horror genre. I was always allowed to play horror games. My parents are a lot older. They had me when they were about 40.
Okay.
So video games they never really understood. But oh my gosh, growing up in a strict Catholic foreign household was everything very monitored. So I think the extent was Psycho, the
Mhm.
monsters, and Signs.
Okay.
And I could only watch Signs because the main character was a priest.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Science is also so good.
Oh, chef's kiss. It's still one of my favorites to this day.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions that I have for you today. I'm gonna allow some time for folks to kind of jump in and type up some questions really quick.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think this was a great discussion. I am always so encouraged by you and just all that you do, and just the fact that we could sit down and like talk about this. I'm just, I don't know. I feel very full after talking with you.
Thank you.
I
I
feel.
feel amazing too, so thank you.
I don't know how you could do it. You were streaming just before, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna come raid you, and I'm like, what are you doing? Go
I had
rest.
to make my audience. I'm really mean to my audience. I'm sorry. I'm like, we're doing this. Get in. I'm
You
like a
better.
mom pulling up in a minivan, being like, "Come on, kids, we
You're
gotta
gonna
go."
smile.
Yeah, literally. But no, I'm really honored to be here and to be given this platform to speak. And I again, I have a lot of respect uh for you as a person
Oh,
and
thank
as a creator, and I really look up to you. Like, again, I will say, with me stepping back from YouTube, one of the most prominent things uh in my head was when you had stepped back, I think, from your Let's Plays. I can't remember specifically, and I think I might have
Yes.
mentioned this to you on the phone, or maybe I just said it in my head.
No,
But like,
you said it.
yeah, it was like one of those things where I was like, okay, I am allowed to do this and
Mhm.
still be successful, and like, look at all these things that Alex is starting and Alex is creating, and like, okay, so like I can step back and make more and do more and actually enjoy what I'm doing. And so it was just such a joy to be able to do this and to be a part of this.
That's good. I'm glad that that was encouraging. Just because it is so hard to be able to acknowledge just the fact that like I need to step away. This isn't giving me joy.
Mhm.
No, no is not an ugly word. I think no is a beautiful
Yes,
word because it helps us set those boundaries and say
absolutely.
yes to what does give us joy.
Mhm.
Clay has a question in chat. Eli, where do you draw the strength or nerve to put yourself out there and do the things like your clown makeup or to push yourself when you're not just feeling it? Clay's my partner. We were
Oh
having
yeah.
dinner beforehand and we were talking. I'm like, I would love if Eli showed up in clown makeup. Like just like
Okay,
sup.
it's really funny you said that because someone asked me to do it yesterday,
Oh
and I
yeah,
was like, I was like, I don't know
yeah.
if Alex would appreciate that. Like, I totally would.
Yeah.
It's very
It's like
exemplary
this
blah,
is
blah, of
me.
me. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know how Alex would feel, and I'm not about to ruin her
I'm down for
day.
anything. You'll learn that about me very fast. I go with the flow. I love that.
So the clown thing is actually a funny story. Growing up in the hospital, I really did grow up in a hospital. I was constantly there. There were these two guys, God bless them, they still do it. They dress up as clowns and come to
Oh,
entertain you. I
yeah.
was terrified of them. I
Oh,
hated it.
I
I
bet.
hated every second of it. And like, you couldn't really ask them to leave. And I was like 7. So how does like a 7-year-old say, hey, please get out of
Yeah,
here?
you're scaring me.
Yeah. So, I went to that hospital from ages 7 to 20. So I saw those clowns quite a lot. And, I realized I had to get rid of over my clown phobia someday. And I'm really into comics, like I mentioned. The Joker is my favorite character. Probably
Great
because I think he's so
character.
terrifying because he's a clown. um, but when I was 15, I transferred from a small 250 student private school to a public school where there were 2.5K people in my class alone. Um, and it was Halloween, and I wanted to go as the Joker to school.
Mhm.
Um, and so I did, and it was terrible Joker makeup. And I remember I got made fun of. I also got asked to homecoming. It was a very confusing, emotional
That's a
day for
very
me.
confusing day.
Yeah, I was like, this is not, I don't want to go to homecoming, but like being dressed as the Joker and being asked to homecoming is like not also how I want to do this.
Right, right.
But like I remember someone told me, they looked at me and they went, wow, someone has too much time on their hands. And obviously I was nobody there. And it hurt, but like I also didn't really care because it was like, who are you?
Yeah.
Um, and like from there it was like a weird awakening where I realized how much fun clown makeup was. And I actually have never been good at makeup until this past year, where I really finally learned how to do it. And clown makeup was just this way that I could express myself and just,
Mm,
mess up my, there's no right way to do clown makeup. You make a mistake and that's a part of the look.
right, right.
It's incredibly liberating. It's like when a child draws on walls, but the canvas is your face. And it just became so fun, and it became
Mhm.
something unique that I could do on my channel. I guess I've never really thought of it, like, people have said weird things to me on stream with it, but I'm an entertainer. Clowns are a type of entertainer. Why not bridge the two?
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of that. It's just like a fun way to express myself and to vent too. There's
Hmm.
a lot of times where there's clown makeup that doesn't make it to the public eye, where I'll just sit down and I'll just do it, and it's just uh, a way to take out my anger and my frustration.
Hmm.
Um, and that probably sounds really dumb, but it
Not at
works.
all. Not at all.
um, and as for how I push myself to do things when I'm not feeling it, I just put myself out there.
Hmm.
To be honest, I mean, I some days there are days that I have to admit that I just can't do it, but I showed up to stream yesterday and I did not want to stream at all.
Mm.
Not one bit. And my community made me laugh and they brought me so much joy and energy. I didn't want to end stream.
Oh, I love that
And
so much.
yeah, and it's like just you won't know until you try. And even if you do try and you don't like it,
At
it's
least you
not the end of
tried.
the world. Yeah, and at least you
And
tried.
you'll never wonder.
Yeah, and my boyfriend's also a really wonderful support. We're still navigating getting to know how to support one another because we're very different people, and
Mm.
this is his first time dating someone who's very mentally and chronically ill. So we're still navigating that, but he's like my number one cheerleader.
Mm.
He's always the first one to really believe in me, and I love him a lot for that. So if I need to depend on someone, I know that I always have him. I have Cujo and Mauve. Those are two of my best friends, and you know, all I got to do is say I need you, and
And they're there.
they're there. Doesn't matter when.
I
Oh,
love that.
kitty.
Yeah, she's trying to steal the show. We'll interview you next time, Tori.
She can have it. She can have it. Oh, and thank you so much, Clay. That's very sweet of you. I mean, and to be honest, I'm not completely like there are days where I do care. And there are days when people's opinions get to me and sorry that I say that because it feels like it should be obvious, but like I don't want to seem like I have it all together or I know everything. I want people to know that I screw up all the time and that I cry and that I doubt myself and that I don't think of myself as worthy a lot of the time because it could be easy for me to come in here and lie and pretend like I'm the best and I know everything, but I don't. And I think that's what makes me feel happier about putting myself out there because I know that you guys don't either.
Right.
And we're in this together.
Right. Just with like life, like nobody has this, book that's like, all right, this is how it needs to look. This is what you need to do to get to it. It's so different for everybody. And I think how you navigate it, that still honors yourself and still respects yourself while, I guess just connecting with those around you is really what makes it all worthwhile.
Sorry, my beautiful grandma's sticking her head in. Hello. Unless you want to be on the screen, I would not walk in. I love you.
I love you. I take care of the dog.
You take care of the dog.
So
She is. She's wonderful. I love her to death.
oh,
She doesn't really understand the whole live streaming thing, so I like to, for the sake of her privacy, be like, I'm live.
yeah, I'm live. If you don't want to be on, there's a screen.
Usually she'll come and say hi or give me a kiss and stuff like that. But,
I think I have seen a little glimpse of her coming in, and it just it warmed my heart because I'm still very, very close with my grandparents too.
Oh yeah. She basically raised me. I've been very fortunate to live with her, and
I love that.
She came from Albania. I made a TikTok recently. She can't spell in English, and so she uses voice to text. And I made a TikTok that was turning my grandma's weird voice to text messages into inspirational quotes. And it's very funny because there's one that's like, "Do you want me to shit the dog?" And I don't really know what she was trying to say, but it's still a good one.
It was cute. It was funny. That's so funny. If there aren't any other questions, I'll give folks some time. Again, I think this is a really great conversation. I think when it just comes down to it, learning when to listen to your body and just being like, I'm burning out right now is important. Clay has one more. I'll let him work on typing.
And I just want to say to the community, I know that this has been a long interview, so I can't blame you guys for either being quiet or not having anything to ask. And honestly, I've talked so much that I've probably answered more things.
No, you're good.
To be invasive, ask anything you want. Honestly, when I say I'm an open book, I mean I'm an open book. I talk about anything, really the wildest things. Also, don't feel like any question's a stupid question.
No such
believe
thing.
me, I've heard it all. I remember one time I'm Albanian and somebody asked me if I was albino, and I was very confused by that statement. Why am I bad at DBD? Because you carry me every round, and I can't get good if you carry me every round. Do you have an Instagram? Yes, you can click that beautiful link that Alex posted. You can also look up Elizabeth Kadeli, Elizabeth spelled with a Z, Kadeli. That is my acting stuff. You'll find more of my chronic illness stuff. But honestly, all of my social media kind of links back together. So it's like a thread. You find one end, you're going to just
keep going.
Looks like,
go ahead.
I don't know if I don't want to read over you.
Oh,
This is your
no, you're
podcast.
good, you're good. Clay's question, just so people, going back can listen to it. Clay asked, what does community mean to you, and how does it feel being in a position where you fostered and spearheaded creating that community?
I love that question. Thank you, Clay. To be honest, for a while it was anxiety inducing to have that control,
It's a
because
lot.
yeah, and parasocial relationships are weird. Once again, I want to be very clear that I have community members and I have friends, because I can't be friends with all of my community members, and that'd also be very inappropriate. So, community to me means a group of, like-minded people who watch out for each other and support each other, and are there for each other. That's something that I really try to foster in my community. Like, we're going to complement each other. We are going to help each other out. We're going to be involved in each other's lives. We're going to be involved in each other's streams. There's a lot of members in my community who have started streaming, and through the support of others, they've reached affiliate via internal community things. And I've had a few people be like, doesn't that make you jealous? And absolutely not. I'm making a community of strong people who do amazing things and have strong, beautiful beliefs, and who lead with love. And that's what brings me joy. That's what makes me happy. Because that gives a lasting impact than whatever the hell my following is. If I can create good people doing great things, I've done my job. And as far as fostering and spearheading the community, it's anxiety inducing because I never want to fail them. I never want to disappoint my community, and I never want to do something wrong in their eyes and let them down, because I have so much respect and honest to God love for them, that I really do try to analyze everything I do. And I always want to be creating the best stuff for them. And I always want to be introducing them to the best communities, and I want to keep them safe. I message people and check in with them if they haven't been a part of the community. And it's not because they haven't been interacting with me or watching my streams. It's because I want to make sure they're okay.
Right.
Because there have been instances where people have not been okay. And if I can be there for someone, that's really important. We do weekly check-ins in my Discord. And what we do is basically it's an image. It has different colored hearts. And then you react with the heart based on what you're doing. And if you react under a certain amount, my wonderful mod team or myself will check in with you and be like, how can we support you this week?
I love that so much.
Yeah. And that's an idea anyone can take, because it's not just my idea. And here, I'll answer that. normanbatesjr. But yeah, that's not my idea. So anybody can steal that, because wellness is not a coveted thing. And that really started, and even I'll enter honestly if I'm doing poorly on that, because I want to be vulnerable, and I want to be honest with my community if I'm doing poorly, and not just because I need support, but because I want to be human and real to them. So, and Cujo is on it all the time.
Awesome.
Cujo does everything for me. He is my right hand man, quite literally. But yeah, so again, and I'm very privileged to have the community that I have. I know at any second or moment it could be taken away from me, or people could choose to leave, and that's okay. Or you drift apart with online relationships. That's just how it is.
Right.
So I take each day and cherish each moment, and I'm honored with what each person brings to my community. And I tell people this all the time. I thank them for sharing their time for me. And I'm appreciative of the uniqueness that they bring, because everyone has something to bring. And something that I struggled with for a really long time was thinking that my purpose in life or my quality in life had to be great. And it had to be some spectacular thing, like become the president or change the world, when really it's like my purpose can just be to love people. And that's really radical. And things that people can bring to my community can be like, I'm really good at drawing frogs. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. That's freaking cool. Or like, I make sick Spotify playlists. Oh, hell yeah, let me listen to that. Yeah. Or like, I'm really pretty. Great, you are. Let's see these selfies.
Yeah, post them.
Yeah, like there's just so much and because I feel like sometimes when I say everyone brings something, I have community members who are like, oh, I have nothing to bring. And I'm like, you have brought yourself. you have brought something. Like,
Mhm.
that is enough. You are enough. You are worthy of love and appreciation and affection.
Exactly. And you know, just you talking about that takes me back to your answer before with just doing everything with a servant's heart and just being kind wherever you go. Like people may leave, but I think just having that space for them to just be open in
Mhm.
themselves and share
Mhm.
those relationships with, you know, the community, with specific
Yeah.
people in the community. If they ever leave, they'll always think back and be like, wow,
Yeah.
like that really helped me through this
Yeah.
time, or you know, man, I was really having a terrible day, and just lurking in the stream like helped me
Yeah.
out so much. And I think that, you know, it's a gift that content creators maybe won't always see the fruits
Mhm.
of the labor,
Yeah.
you know, but I feel like just us holding space for people is always so
Mhm.
important, and it does speak volumes even
Yeah.
later and on and on.
Totally. And that's the thing is like with me having a younger community, I'm very like there are content creators that I didn't keep up with that I fell off of. So I know naturally because this is how this works. It's someone who's 13 that watches me now. You
Mhm.
know, maybe in 2 years I'll lose contact with them and that's okay. But I hope that, you know, I can be a formational part of their life. Like I remember that really cool person I used to watch. I don't even care if they remember my name or face, but just them being like, you know, they really helped me through this or they really
Mhm.
inspired me to do this.
Or really made me laugh, like that
Yeah.
was so funny.
Yeah, like there's so many people like that for me. One of them is PewDiePie. I used to be the biggest PewDiePie fan. But it's like even though I don't watch him, it's like I remember his amnesia videos and I remember how much horror he introduced me to that I didn't have access to and made me laugh. So he's actually this is really embarrassing. He's part of the reason why I got a pug.
Oh,
He started
really?
my pug fascination because he has 2 pugs.
Oh, I love
And I
that.
remember uh he in some of his videos, one of his pugs would pull out the wires from his computer and he'd use gameplay footage. And
Oh
I don't know
my
why, but
gosh.
that was like the done deal for me. I was like, I want a pug. Like that's a dog with
I want to
personality. Oh my
experience
goodness. Yeah.
this.
And my Santi's evil, so I got exactly what I wanted.
Oh my
So
gosh. The pictures that you tweeted of Santi the other day just like throwing a tantrum on the ground had
oh my
me
gosh.
laughing
That's what was
so
happening. I
hard.
was on the phone with you and he's like doing this. And I'm like, dude, out of all the times you could just be a diva, like while I'm on the phone,
Oh,
really? I talk to him like he's a human. And I think he understands me.
absolutely. They totally
But
do.
oh my goodness, he argues back. He'll like growl or
Mhm.
whine at me back. And I'm like, stop it. Stop. Not
Like
everything's
you
about
have it
you.
easy.
Yeah, literally. He's so spoiled.
I love it. We love him to death.
Yes.
Did you have any closing thoughts for us, or did anybody else have anything else in the chat before we close up for today? I didn't want to take too much more of your time, Eli.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you, Clay, for just your loving nature. I love the love that you have for Alex. I love happy couples. It makes me happy. So just seeing you here, cheering us on was really beautiful. And I love the questions that you ask. Thank you to any members of my community that
Absolutely.
stuck around and hung out. I know that I make you guys interact with me a lot. I never shut up. So I appreciate when you guys make it out here. Thank you to Alex's community. You guys rock. You've always been so kind to me and so welcoming. So thank you for allowing me the space. And I guess really what I want to end off with is lead with love and lead with a servant's heart. And by those 2 qualities, you can do no wrong. Um, don't limit yourself because you will be your own worst enemy. You can achieve so much. There's so much I've achieved that I never thought I was worthy of or I could. And I know that you guys can. And I really do believe in you. And if you were like, I need one person to believe in me, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I believe in you. And I really mean that. And, you know, just remember that you are loved and you have a space in this world. And again, not to like plug my social media too much, but if you're curious about
Please
being
do.
educated, if you're curious about education, about Crohn's disease, disability, things like that, you're welcome to follow Elizabeth Cadelli. Again, you can also find me through ttv.normanbatesjr, or if you're just a skincare fanatic. If you have any questions that you didn't feel like asking in the stream today, or maybe you think of them later, please reach out. I honestly do try to answer as many questions, DMs, things like that. I want to educate people. I want to be there for people as much as I can. And so I just want to say that you guys rock and thank you for having me. This is such an uplifting and joyful conversation and definitely something that I needed.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here, for just sharing your experience, your story, your insights, and your community at the very beginning. I was so excited to just have you here and have all of your friends and your community members with us.
People.
Oh yeah, no, you've always just had such an uplifting and just lovely, truly the kindest community. One, if not of any that I've experienced here on Twitch, but
if any of them are out of line, I crack the whip.
That's good. That's good. They need to know boundaries, and that's so important, especially with what we do. Awesome. Well, if there is nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Again, thank you, Eli, so much. I'll plug you one more time here, and then we will also have this podcast available for free on my Patreon, and I'll go ahead and plug Eli's information there as well. But if there's nothing else, I'll close this out.
That's sweet. Thank you guys again. Have a great night.
Awesome. You have been watching the Powcastyea podcast. My hope for you after this episode is that you are encouraged to live your best life now, continue asking questions, remain a student of life, share with one another, and remember to have fun and find joy along the way. Thank you for joining me and for listening as we ask the question, which button is life? I hope you will join me next time. And done. Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I know we had some people being kind of weird, but we took care of that.
Oh, trust me, no, people are weird to me on my stream all the time.
Not
Cujo,
okay.
If
Not
Cujo's
okay.
here, I will say Cujo's favorite comment that has ever happened is someone asked me for my bra measurements so that they could get to know me better. And so Cujo will just text me and be like, hey, what are your measurements so I can get to know you? I know you're always here, but I get weird comments all the time. So I'm used to it. And honestly, Cujo's about to drop another one of his favorites, but especially once again, being an actor, people have torn into me. Oh, I flip for you. Yeah, that's another good one. I've had all sorts of weird stuff, so don't even worry about it. You should see my DMs. Sometimes I read my DMs on stream because they're insane.
No, but I'm super thankful again. Definitely, those of you that are here and you have not followed Eli already, please do. Super amazing creator, wonderful person. Lots of really, really great horror games that I will probably never play, so I'll always refer over to Eli.
Yeah, I'll get spooked for you guys.
Thank you.
Don't worry. And again, shut up, Cujo. And again, if you guys are any of my community members and you're not following Alex,
thanks.
You should be. Otherwise, I swear I will not be happy. Plus, Alex, you also play retro games. You're playing Zelda games. Yes. I never played Zelda.
Yes.
So like the only Zelda game I've played is
Twilight Princess. Yeah.
Which is funny because I think that's like the scariest of the Zelda games. I don't really know if that's a fact, but I feel like it's the darkest one.
I don't know any better, so I'll agree with you.
So like leave it to me to choose like the weird one to play,
That's too funny.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, it has been so much fun. No, absolutely. You're a joy, and I hope to have you again. Maybe I'll even apply to be on your podcast. We can talk some more.
I was about to say, I want to put the spotlight on you and hear about you, because oh my goodness, I talked your ear off today.
It's definitely intimidating when it's turned around on you, Like, I think with streaming it's fun because it's like, let's experience this thing together, but then when it's an interview, it's like, you want to know about me? Like, me? Really?
I'm like, ooh. And I don't know, my mind always goes blank. Even if someone's like, how are you? I'm like,
it's like, how am I?
What have I been doing? Like when I'm in therapy every week, my therapist's like, so how was your week? And I was like, I don't know. Ask again later.
That's too funny. No, I do love hosting other people, and definitely, sharing that space so that others can check you out and be like, wow, like I had no idea. Let me go check you out. But thank you again, everybody, for hanging out. I want to let you get on with the rest of your night, since it has been a long day for you as well. But again, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and then we will roll some credits. But thank you again, Eli, for being here, for the raid, for the host. Bob says hi. I love your channel name. If you're still here, your username.
He's a 13-year-old little trickster. So
I love it.
He's a sweetheart.
And then Cujo, of course, for just being an amazing person and just supporting Eli so much and just being an amazing friend. But thank you, everybody. This will be available also on YouTube as well. So I'll definitely plug you there. Let me just plug this really quick. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's very temperamental.
Yeah, moon with anything I try to do.
Cool. And there's always something. It's always a learning curve. But thank you again, everybody. I will be back on Monday. We're going to be baking my grandfather a cake for his birthday. So we'll be back with Munchie Mondays for that. So it'll be fun. I think we're going to do some kind of lemon cake. So that should be maybe a disaster, maybe amazing. You'll have to tune in to find out. But thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Eli. And hopefully we can have you back again at some point.
Yeah, thank you again.
Awesome. You have a great day, and everybody else have a great, amazing evening. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you hopefully soon.